Preamp, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. Just to tell you where we got to. Last episode we were building the Velleman passive preamp kit K8022 and we got so far as making the main unit. In fact, everything is on here, the LEDs, the motor, everything. I did have a weird issue with my motor, if you remember. It was jamming up or not moving. Just to show you what that was, there was actually, strangely enough, and I'll check in the box, it might turn up, a missing circlip. So if this camera would bloody focus, please just focus, please, please. Okay, you can see it there. I've actually just put a twist of wire that's stopping that getting pulled in. So there should be a circlip on there. If yours doesn't have the circlip, you see there? See that thrust pulling it in? It won't work. It needs to be outside the unit. Anyway, I digest. Let's put this all aside because today, of course, we are working on the remote control aspect because we want to get that done so that we can put everything in the box and then follow this tuning guide to tune it all up, which I'll shove over there. So I do have a remote control unit from a previous actual, not a kit, but you can buy these ready-made from Velleman, where you've got the receiver and a transmitter, and the receiver's got a few relays in it. But we're going to make this one because it could be different at the end of the day. It comes with your PCB, and these are the components. Let's have a quick flick through. Diodes, watch the polarity. And what I've learnt to do with these kits, there's not much there to be honest with you. What I've learnt to do with them is to just sort of go with the flow. I initially was getting quite riled up about trying to count components and everything, but really it had absolutely everything you need in the kit, and it didn't disappoint. There was nothing missing. So let's just do that today. We're just not going to worry about it. Get on with the build. So this is where we ended up, by the way. If you remember, it shared the same components with the other kit, and there's loads of these jumper wires. But let's say it's got a diode, BAT85, BAT85, D1 and D2, and I'm going to turn these round in the thing, and they both say BAT85, so that's good. So we're off to a flying start. And if you recall, you can tick these as you're building them. So as you put them down, you can tick your little checklist as you go along. It's quite nice. It was just saying in the Discord channel that you need to just give yourself up to the kit. It knows what it's doing. Now, being diodes, they do have a polarity, and you will see on the board there is a darker line on the D1 and D2 footprints, and towards that darker line, or more wider line, it's white. You can't get a darker white, but you know what I mean. Thicker line. There's a little black line on your diode, and that's what wants to line up with that. And you might need to be a little bit more careful with your bending than I am, because this is a higher density board for sure, and diodes like this can break because they're made of, I think, glass. So make sure you're getting nice sharp bends on it. I'm going to use my nail to make sure as much force is on the wire and not on that packaging, but I think that's probably down enough. It would be nice if you can get them to sit flat though, to be fair. Let's try again with some tweezers. That's good enough. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with that. So let's turn it upside down like dead spiders. We're just going to get in there. Whoa, look at the density on this side now. So yeah, we have to be a little bit more careful. Pay attention now where you can to where they're on the same signal, so that way you'll know if they've jumped over and made a bridge or if they are where they're supposed to be. I'll give you an example. You see there now, I suspect it's still a single-sided board, so I suspect they're supposed to be connected, but see, I'm just going to rub the soldering iron over there just to make sure, and they are. You can see the trace there between them. What else? Next. It says there's a Zener Diode, but I'm not seeing a Zener Diode here, so I'm going to have a quick look through the parts. That's not good. Can we be possibly missing a Zener Diode? Right, let's keep going. I'm just going to see where that Zener diode would have been though. So it does say here Zener diode ZD1. I have to say it's not jumping out at me though. I'm not seeing a ZD1 footprint, so let's not worry about it. So we'll go to the 1/8 watt resistor. So these are the teenier resistors. So if you're building this kit from scratch, you'll know it's a bit smaller. And I've marked here orange, 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 just to be sure we're on the right one, and we are. So we're going to take that out, and that goes into the R1 footprint, which is right there. And I'm going to do what we did last time, where we built up the components as we went along. So R2, you just have to pull them off in order from your ribbon, but just double check it every now and then before you solder it, because you want to make sure. I mean, R2 should be the same. Oh, hang on. Yeah, see, what? There's something very wrong here. Because according to this, R2 should also be a 33K. Now, I printed these instructions from the internet. Is it possible these are wrong? In fact, these instructions look totally different, don't they? Yeah, those instructions definitely are wrong. So I'm just going to power through, trusting the kit. Because do you remember? These are all in order. So R4. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to put my faith in the kit. This will be R5. So we've got that going on there, and there are quite a lot of jumper wires here still left, so maybe there are a lot of jumpers to put down. I can certainly see one, if not two. But that's a bit annoying, isn't it? I shall have to contact my father. As I said, he's got hold of the instructions. He was having a read of them. Probably having a read, and then said, sod that for a game of soldiers. I'm not doing this. And sent it to me, but omitted them. Not a problem though, we'll figure it out. This is now turned into more like those Chinese kits we buy, which don't even have instructions. A bit more exciting, a bit more Sudoku-ish. We'll figure it out as we go along. I reckon though we're going to get pretty far. The thing where we might come across is the values for capacitors, because there's quite a lot of capacitors still left in the kit. But we'll worry about those when we get to them. So we've got some switches, tack switches, they're easy to fit, so let's do it for them. Ooh, hello, that's my phone there. Oh, Resonator. We have a Resonator, which is basically doing the same sort of job as a crystal. There can only be one way of going in, and that's going to be like that. So let's get those few things done. So far we're lucky. These components really can't go in the wrong way. Okay, good. Ooh, quite remote control already. Look at that. I wonder how the battery works. So there are battery fittings. Let's have a look in the instructions though, because although we know the PCB, different components are different, mechanical things like the battery, that's probably going to be the same. So I did see those. Here we are. Oh look! That was the circlip bit. Do you remember what I was saying earlier? Good, we'll fit that. I'll show you that being fitted. Must have fallen off. Okay, so the battery, according to the picture here, has the spring on this end. Okay, I got it. Like that. Ooh, that's going to be toasty. Let's not touch that with our fingers. Get that into shape. I mean, you know, you can always bend that afterwards, but best to get it out of the way if you can. Now there is an IC here which we can fit, and just looking very cautiously, there's a jumper. There's two jumpers that have to go underneath it. You see there's a jumper there and a jumper there? So before you fit that IC, fit the jumper, and that's why they give you these. I'll just zoom out a touch. Can feel a bit claustrophobic sometimes zoomed in, can't it? Just make sure they're pushed down nicely. That's quite a good trick with the old cameras and the focus, of having some print behind them, because they'll tend to try to focus on those things. Okay, that's looking good. Quite like the idea of hi-fi projects. By the way, the old Inspiration engine is coming along leaps and bounds. Really cool stuff the guys are doing on that. Okay, now we're ready to put our IC in. So after that, really, there's our LED, a few. Now, looking at this design, by the way, that can is so close to that last little leg there. I don't know if you can see it, but just be careful when you solder it in that doesn't touch it. But that's fine. It's not going to sit perfectly flush because you have those jumper wires under it. Close enough is fine. Try not to short anything out. Unfortunately, in my experience, trying to rectify an error often takes longer than the whole construction process. So if you've got an option to take it a little bit slower, probably ought to. This looks like an addressing system, by the way, on the bottom. See, this feels to me like there's some combination of these pins will determine the address. And in fact, yeah, from the top you can see potentially that is the case. You're going to have one rail here which is high and one rail which is low, and by pulling those inputs high or low, it'll determine which address this will respond to. Okay, so we have an LED. It looks to me like they want the LED to be pushed up 8mm, so we'll follow that as well. Long leg positive. So we're going to be a bit more cautious. In fact, I'm going to just bend it over. 8mm from top to tail, which is quite... that's almost a regular LED distance there, so it's not too bad. I'll just adjust it afterwards. Pulling it out slightly. Ooh, spicy. Right, it's probably about 6 mil. I'd say that's close enough. Looking good. Right. Now we're down to the guess the components. So we've got one of these things. Looks like a transistor. There can be only one. What could go wrong? And now I'd say this would be probably getting to the point where we're going to need to look things up, because we have a few capacitors here where the footprints of the capacitors could really be any of these. And then we have a couple of these interesting guys here, which again, another kind of capacitor, you can just about see, and they're two different values. So we need to understand which value goes where for those specifically. So yeah, it's time to dig out the other manual if we can find it online. Just going to fix this before I forget. Oh, I did such a good job of this. Okay. Now we're going to get that new piece in. I suspect it goes in this way. Surprised it fell out, to be honest with you. It's not very clippy. Still, probably stay in enough now. Found a picture online of a model very similar to this, and from that I was able to deduce the antenna here and these two capacitors, but I'm still at a loss. I have 4 capacitors to figure out, and I have way too many capacitors left in the kit, so a little bit more investigation required. Whew, finally, look, there you go. Those are the parts if you were ever curious. I managed to get on the old blower to me old man and figure out the rest. So we are good now to solder. Gonna just flip it over. Again, the final tacking. The tacking. Now I do need a battery for this. I'll have to search for one. And I don't quite have the instructions for setting it up, but hopefully it's going to be somewhat obvious. Although you know what they say about making an assumption. I think that is looking good. Let's finish it off. What an adventure it's been, eh? So my father asked me, are you going to test it out? And I said to him, you know what? I'm going to test it out so far as working it with the remote control and all of that after we assemble it, but I'm not going to hook it up to hi-fi. I don't think I need to test that aspect out. At the end of the day, all this whole thing does is switch these inputs through this potentiometer and back out. So I'm pretty certain that part is going to work. Let's get it tuned up. I think that's going to be the challenge right now. So that's our remote control. Hooray! And the whole kit, out of everything, all we've got left over are a couple of these 100 nanofarad capacitors. So hopefully I haven't missed anything. I don't think I have. Nope, I think you just had a couple of unintentional spares there. That's good. Right, so what does our instruction manual say to do next? So after we've got all of that lot done, let's put it all in the enclosure. I'm going to put the feet on. Might help it from skidding all over the shop while we're working on it. Nice. Pop that in like that. Now there are 6 screws in here. I did notice there's a pack of screws. Those feet are good, by the way. I'm just sort of trying to drag it across the desk and they're really bitey, so that's what you want. If you've got some feet on something, you definitely want bitey ones. Because you know that, like these things, it's like KVMs. Once they've got all their cables in, there's a hell of a lot of drag on them. Now I did see in the instructions this piece of plastic goes around the knob hole, so make sure you get that in there to stop detritus, I guess, from falling in. Oh, hello! Hello, hello. Okay, trying to do too many things at once here. Ha 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 ha! Look at that, it's all coming together. Sawmill house. Okay, I'm going to take it sideways on because the problem is we do need to get those LEDs poked through where they want to be, or more realistically where they don't want to be. Good, I think that's okay. There's definitely some alignment issues, so what's best to do now then is to put the other screws in the enclosure. Remove this piece of wire. Loads of screws, really well screwed up. I'm going to be a bit ginger on the screws, don't want to over crank them. Although, got the wrong screwdriver. It's hard to overdo it like that because the screwdriver just wants to jump out. So all the adjustments we need to make for the RF can be made in situ, fortunately. Very exciting at this point. What a great kit. I wonder how much this would have been. I should have asked, but I suspect it doesn't feel like a cheap kit to me. You end up making something quite real at the end of this. And I do love that panel work. Look at those panels. That is a tasty bit of metalwork. Okay, let's turn it around. Let's get our LEDs poked through as best we can. I didn't remove the plastic from the front. I feel that's not my place to do that. Get the LEDs lined up. There we go. Put a bit of a dog leg on that LED. And there's the volume knob. It does have a marker on it, so I'm going to turn it all the way to the left. So at the left there, horizontal, will go, I feel it should be somewhere like that. What do you feel? You can have it any way you want. I think there's okay. It's hard to know where 0 ought to be on something. Alright, so we got that. We got our remote control. We've got our remote control enclosure. There are no additional buttons on the remote control enclosure, so I feel we probably could just pop it in its case. So we're going to go for that now. There does seem to be a little plastic thing. Da 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 da. Fettling. Okay. Let's get the little lanyard keyring on. Oh no, come on. It's fighting me. Boom. Nicely bitten there. Right. So, we've got our power supply here. Let's get this all on. How to operate learn mode. Press and hold SW1 at power on. LD2 will turn on briefly. Press volume down on the remote. LD2 will turn on briefly to confirm. LD2, press volume up on the remote. Okay. We'll figure this out. Right, so I'm going to hold this down, press power. And that motor just shoots to the left a bit there. Okay, so I think we then press left. Ooh. I'll show you what it's doing. And then we're going to press right. And then we're going to press both together, which could be tricky, but I can do it. You see it went tick, 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 tick. Now the volume is chooching down to 0 and it's there grinding away. It's thinking about it. Just going to poke my LED through a bit better. Okay. So now if we push and hold right, nice. If we push both buttons together, which I'm going to do with my thumb, that is spot on, isn't it? Good. Okay, now we can finish this project. Hang on a minute. There is something about adjusting the reception on here, but let's count. It's saying about brightness, maximum brightness. I'm going to wind it all the way out. It's that bright. I'm going to wind it all the way in. It was about halfway. I could see from the... It's about that bright. Let's leave it halfway because it looks the same either way. I'm going to leave this tool though for the next person to come along if they want to make that adjustment though. So I'm going to stick that there. Take a little bit of masking tape. So that's looking alright. Bit of masking tape. June 2020, Dr. A. Left my mark in there. So where's our lid? Get it lidded up. Although, let's be fair to the next person. I was going to let them take this plastic off, but once we get that lid on, you know it's going to be a right nightmare. In fact, it's already a bit of a nightmare because it's left the bottom strip on. There. Much better. This is such a great enclosure. I love it. Something's a bit bitey in that corner though. See if we put a bit of pressure on it. It's needing too much pressure. Oh my word. Oh, there we go. Actually bent that panel slightly. Whoops. Just check that. Oh yeah, there's just a little bit of swarf in there. Should be okay now. Unless I've got some on this front corner as well. hopefully not. It's looking okay. Let's get those last screws. It's been an adventure, hasn't it? It really has. So we've gone from a pile of parts to something that does a job, and I should think will do that job very well. I quite like the ability to change channels on the fly, but I'd probably prefer if it has a 3-button remote, but hey, it's all better, isn't it, than having to get up from your sofa and do it yourself. A little bit noisy too, but that's fine. Keep on the lookout on eBay, etc., because I've seen these motorized knobs available, and it would be very easy for you to combine this with some IoT or Arduino type chipsets and make your own with lots of IoT style functionality. Just snap the edge. Now it's perfect. It was almost perfect before, but now it's even more perfect. So hopefully that's been of some use to you. If you're interested in a kit like this, go on eBay online, see where they have them. Maybe they still sell it, I don't know. As I said, this is a kit for somebody else. But please feel free to talk to me down below, or if you're a patron, of course, you can ping me on Patreon or Discord, or the special Patreon channel on Discord, however you want. And let me know what you think is a Velleman kit that I should look out for. Perhaps there's a kit that you'd like to see me build. So yeah, do a shout out for that, and we will have a go at it. So, all the best, take care, enjoy the beautiful weather, and as ever, chick chick. Thank you for watching.